The story begins in Japan, where a news report predicts a meteor shower will light up the sky. However, people on the street are still glued to their phones, as indifferent as the way your crush ignores your texts. This coincidence with reality is totally intentional. Next is the male lead, a guy who became a simp lord before even getting a name. He is chatting with his girlfriend Mo while wearing a dog costume. Impatient to meet his dream girl, he charges across the street, ignoring the red light like a Thor, breaking barriers the moment she says she's in the building opposite. As soon as she sees him, Mo pulls out her phone to record, demanding he spin 3 times like a puppy, and he actually does it, even barking with passion. While squatting in the middle of the road to finish his performance, he is hit by a distracted driver who drags him a long way across the asphalt. It doesn't stop there. As he struggles to get up, he sees a meteor flying straight at his face. At this point, he just spirals into depression, only managing a satisfied smile and some final words before the whole neighborhood is deleted. A very reputable start for this anime. After that explosion, the male lead, now a beastman, wakes up in a strange dimension with a group of others. While he's dazed, a dapper middle-aged guy approaches and asks, "How many times has this been for you, kid?" Our guy is like, "Wait, this actually counts as a time." The uncle flexes slightly that although his appearance looks a bit low tier, this is already his second reincarnation. Just then, a bell rings, and the uncle announces it's his turn before pulling out a rocket attached to his back and launching up a tube. Our lead just finishes being impressed when a rocket automatically grows on his back too. At the end of the path is a divine auction room. The dapper uncle from earlier is put up for sale for a chance at reincarnation, but none of the gods bother to close the deal. In the end, the uncle is locked in a pod and shaken violently until he turns into a blob of probiotic mud, officially receiving a ticket to be the lowest creature in the food chain. The male lead witnesses everything before accidentally falling into the middle of the auction floor. The host introduces him as a reincarnator from Earth, making the gods excited to outbid each other. But as soon as they scan and see his soul is abnormal, the gods shout in unison, "You, gross," and immediately hit the button to drop him into the trash pit. He lands on a conveyor belt leading to a candy city. Entering the main castle after passing through a narrow hallway, he encounters a goddess. The moment he sees her, his clueless blood rises. He immediately falls into the trap of love and rushes over to sniff her like a puppy. Seeing this guy as a bit of a pervert, the goddess threatens to banish him into the darkness of lost souls. Our guy gets so scared he finally sits still. She proudly shows off her wings to prove her divinity. The lead flatters her a bit, then casually asks for her 3-round measurements, forcing her to use a power cable to give him a warning zap. The goddess replays his life before he died. He immediately enters lawyer mode, accusing her of secret filming and violating the law, but she stays indifferent, saying laws don't apply to gods. He then takes the chance to ask if he can touch her, forcing her to threaten to countersue. Truly, the god has the power, and he only has the right to remain silent. The goddess offers her condolences that he is truly logged out. The screen shows the scene of him running to Mo, only to see her standing with her actual boyfriend. He adds that he wore the dog suit and walked from Okutama, got mauled by a bear, caught in a construction explosion, and chased by the Yakuza for pushing their boss, before finally getting hit by a truck and then a meteor. After reviewing this top-tier profile, the goddess exclaims, "Are you a cartoon character?" She explains this is a waiting room for those who died unfairly, and he can reincarnate anywhere. Saying this, she locks him in a sphere and begins the procedure to have him reincarnated again. But unfortunately, the male lead's personality is still permanently clueless. He keeps rolling around playfully inside the sphere, making the goddess lose her temper and threaten to turn him into a parasite that lives for 10,000 years. Hearing that, our guy finally mutes himself and obediently picks his next life on a tablet. He wonders why he can choose freely instead of being forced like other stories, and the goddess takes the chance to self-flex, claiming she's the most psychological and cool god here. She confirms he can pick any life, but follows up with a shook announcement. The top-tier roles have very long waiting lists because the number of Thor wanting to reincarnate is as massive as an army. To help him quickly log out to a new world, she suggests a transfer student role in an unfinished world, but the lead gets demanding and asks for something else. So both of them look at a high-status shield hero role. He likes it immediately, but the price to pay is waiting 50,000 years for a turn. Our guy gets angry and starts kakia. The people waiting for that role is a bunch of weirdos. The goddess strips off the cool armor and finds him an NPC villager role that only repeats one line. But even this requires a 500-year wait number that makes any normal person faceplant. She explains that the pink worlds are always sold out, while the harsh roles have quick openings. For example, a useless hero role laughed at by the whole world only has a 5-minute wait. The lead asks about a Demon King role but gets hit with a reality check, a 27,000-year wait because this role is also very hot. He asks for defeated Demon King or early surrender Demon King, and the wait time drops to 8 minutes, just slightly longer than the useless hero. After a while of struggling, the goddess suggests he go Bin Jung style, pick something no one would think of like inanimate objects, a sword, a shield, or a vending machine. Seeing the goddess lose patience because she's busy watching a movie and threatening to turn him into bacteria if he makes her late, the lead makes a shocking decision. He picks a world with a super strong hero who has a huge female fan base, but doesn't want to be human. He wants to be that hero's rib bone to be caressed by beauties non-stop. Despite finding the request disgusting and shallow, the goddess still complies. The door of reincarnation opens, and she tells him to walk carefully, making him tear up at the rare kindness. But as soon as he takes off, the machinery short-circuits and shocks him. The goddess calmly says, "That's why I told you to be careful." After the rocket launch, the lead turns into a bone and lands in the new world. However, not long after, this burden shows up back here. He admits the adventure was great, but the ending wasn't as fulfilling as imagined, despite having many beauties. The goddess doesn't bother to listen and plugs the power cord into him to replay the whole being a bone process. It's an epic world of fire and smoke where the hero is out slaying demons. The lead describes the feeling as great because he sensed the battle from the most realistic perspective. He even proudly freezes the frame to show the goddess his position among the hero's ribs. The movie continues with the scene of the hero winning and being surrounded and caressed by beauties just as he wished, making the goddess start to question her own profession. The lead smugly brags to the goddess that it was the best feeling in both his lifetimes. Fed up, the goddess tries to pull the plug from his head, but our guy keeps talking non-stop. He points to one girl in the harem and says she is his type. Since he sees the hero doesn't pay attention to her, he gets the idea to confess. This leaves both the hero and that beauty in utter confusion. Not knowing where the voice is coming from, the hero starts punching himself until he hears a tiny moan. Ignoring everything, the lead introduces himself as right, rib number 11. Hearing this, the hero gets equally aggressive and manually rips that bone out. The problem is, the lead was actually rib number 10. The story takes an unbelievable turn when the rib bone thrown on the ground turns into a new human, calling himself Rib Hero 11. The goddess is speechless at this point, comparing the story to a failed parody of Adam and Eve. The lead now will call him Pepito since he has no name, tells how everything escalated into a civil war between the original hero and the Rib Hero. The goddess thinks the original hero will win easily because he's cracked, but Pepito says, since he's the guy's bone, he's just as strong. The battle drags on with no one backing down. Finally, the victory belongs to the rib because it has an extra piece of bone. The original hero kicks the bucket, leaving behind a bunch of other ribs. Pepito intends to merge with his brothers, but they call him an idiot because there can only be one hero. So Pepito goes back to being a rib just like at the start of reincarnation. That battle was so terrible it almost destroyed the planet. Rib Hero 11 even created an army from his own bones, making the plot drag on forever. In the middle of that mess, Pepito lies still and enjoys himself until he's picked up by a beast-eared beauty as a toy. For him, those were heavenly days, until a gardening girl accidentally picked him up and crushed him into fertilizer. So he logged out once again. Pepito regrets that the gardener didn't know he was a hero bone, which is why he's back here demanding more caressing. The goddess says if she touches him, he'll just turn to ash. Pepito hears that and feels excited, because turning to ash for fertilizer is fine too. She actually does it, crushing him, and then remembers she isn't growing any plants, so she has to resurrect him. After this experience, Pepito learns the lesson that dying fast doesn't hurt, so next time he asks the goddess to torture him slowly for the pleasure. He even feels good because his old wounds disappeared after resurrection. Before leaving, Pepito gives the goddess a gift. It's Rib Hero 11 with perfect curves to massage her back. The goddess is disgusted and orders it thrown away immediately. Since he hasn't moved on, he has to reincarnate again. This time out of ideas, both use the mystery box for the undecided. The goddess makes him shake a half-eaten box to choose his fate. Despite doubting this mindless box under her threat, he has to follow. The result? A ball falls out, he will reincarnate as a hermit crab. If you've watched this far, don't forget to like and subscribe to follow the next episode's developments. Peace out. In episode 2, a flashback reveals that Pepito's past life was pretty mid. Living a life that bland made him obsessed with anything shiny. Since he was chronically single, he tried every trick in the book to reach the light of his life, a detail that sounds suspiciously like a low-key roast of the dark mage Maga Oscura. Pepito went full simp mode, hunting for his dream girl even in ancient scrolls. One day, some Westerners reported finding a goddess exactly where he predicted. Without a second thought, he joined an archaeological expedition to an ancient civilization. He found a goddess, but he still wasn't satisfied. While he was busy reminiscing, Philomena cut him off, asking if that expedition was even real. After a few seconds of glitching, Pepito confessed he just made it all up. Hearing this, Philomena immediately sent him a lightning bolt to log him out for lying, only to revive him a second later. Upon waking up, Pepito claimed that sipping tea after coming back to life felt like a total high. The goddess commented that his life was the textbook definition of an otaku, though at least he wasn't the type to just rot in his room. Our guy revealed he's a hardcore fan of dating sims and casually asked Philomena what his affection meter was at. When she said it hit 95%, Pepito was over the moon, showering her with top-tier flattery. The goddess added that the meter was still climbing. Excitedly, he asked what happens at 100%. She calmly replied at that point, she'd love him so obsessively she'd dry him out and hang him up as a wall decoration. Pepito was straight up shook, thinking this definitely turned into a horror game instead of a dating sim. It was time for his crab shift, so Philomena shoved him into the machine, tossing in a bunch of buffs so he wouldn't fold immediately and ruin the food chain. After the usual electric shock, Pepito was sent to reincarnate. A while later, while Philomena was using one of his gifted ribs to scratch her back, he suddenly spawned back. He tried to go in for a hug, but she folded him again before bringing him back. Pepito claimed everything was going great, at least until he defeated Glass Ray, the ruler of Hell, and saved the world from doomsday. The goddess plugged some wires into his head to watch the playback. It turns out that during his crab life, all his homies got eaten, and he was the sole survivor. After finding a shell, he was picked up by the hero Arsambel. In reality, that hero only adopted a crab because of the bonus features the goddess installed in Pepito, creating a permanent bond with his owner. Thanks to that, he became the ultimate crab, the hero's legendary weapon. Together they split mountains and carved oceans, looking absolutely cracked. But then, the hero suddenly gained brain cells and asked, "Wait, why am I carrying a crab into battle?" The hero tried to yeet the crab, but since the goddess set his weapon mode to stickier than glue, there was no getting rid of him. Eventually, he tossed him into the ocean but kept the hero's ownership active. Once back in the deep blue, he met Taksha, the goddess of the sea, who according to Pepito was way fresher than Philomena. Hearing Pepito praise another goddess's vibes, Philomena got heated and threatened to put him on the gallows if he didn't stop talking crazy. According to Pepito, after rescuing the sea goddess, he turned an underwater temple into their love nest. But then disaster struck when the great archdemon Leviathan appeared. In a heated battle, Pepito managed to eye gouge the monster, but he was heavily damaged. He drifted at sea and was saved by Master Salmon, who was sunbathing. Philomena had to stop him right there because the plot went from an epic saga to pure nonsense, since when do salmon sunbathe? But Pepito didn't care and kept yapping about his intense training under his master to get his revenge. By the time his master logged out for good, he had mastered the ultimate technique, Hellish Hades' Steel Thunder Fire. With this move, he went back and sliced Leviathan's head off using his claws. The goddess wondered why he didn't use the ultimate technique and just used his claws instead, but whatever, he made it back to his sea goddess Taksha. Philomena sarcastically remarked that Taksha must have some really salty taste to fall for a hermit crab. Pepito clapped back, asking if she was jealous, which almost got him sent to the lobby again. He continued the tragic ending because he carried the hero's ultimate weapon buff. Only a hero could actually use him. The result? Taksha met a tragic end just for trying to use him. Absolute fail. Furious because the hero knew the risks but yeeted him into the sea anyway, Pepito went looking for smoke. The two of them threw hands until they both collapsed. And then out of nowhere they made peace like nothing happened, completely ignoring Taksha's poor soul. At sunset, the dying hero entrusted the mission of slaying the archdemon Glass Ray to a crab. Fueled by spite, Pepito used the hellish steel technique to blow Glass Ray to smithereens, ending him exactly the same way Master Salmon logged out. The goddess looked at him sideways, asking if he used that same move on his master. Turns out, Pepito really did send his teacher to the lobby while the old man was still processing what happened. In the end, despite bringing world peace, nobody recognizes a crab as a hero. Pepito eventually died of old age with one major regret. The goddess thought he missed the fame, but no, he was just pressed that no woman had ever used him. Philomena realized instantly that this guy is just a walking thirst trap in his own head. That's when Pepito remembered his gift, a can of salmon. This single gift finally made Philomena's affection meter hit 100%. True to her word, she started mummifying him. Pepito requested to be preserved in his crab form just so he could keep a premium bottom-up view of her. The goddess shrugged and locked him in a box. A bit later, while vibing with her salmon, Philomena remembered she had to send him to reincarnate again. When he didn't answer, she decided to change clothes. Big mistake. The second he heard the fabric rustle, Pepito popped the lid and lunged out to catch a glimpse. Philomena, always one step ahead, sent him to the lobby before reviving him. She couldn't understand how a dried-up mummy could still creep, but Pepito proudly declared it was willpower of steel. The goddess officially labeled him a top-tier creep and ordered him to pick his next life immediately. Pepito shook the vibe checkbox again, and this time, he pulled a ticket to be the right side door of the Demon King's castle. As he was leaving, Pepito complained about the studio recycling the same walking through the door animation from episode 1. Philomena roasted him back, saying the anime industry is understaffed, so they're reusing assets to save budget. After the signature electric shock, he officially became the Demon King's wooden bodyguard. Meanwhile, Philomena was caught in her feels because she ran out of canned salmon. But before she could get too depressed, Pepito made a crash landing back to her realm. This time, she dodged, and he decided to show off his cooking skills by making fried rice right there in the divine space. While tossing the pan, Pepito whined that being a door was pure torture. The goddess wasn't trying to hear all that, so she plugged the wires into his head to watch the movie. Turns out, Pepito was a door with a chronic allergy to cat hair and dust. Every time the Demon King sneezed or someone opened the door, he would glitch and slam shut, flattening anyone passing through. The unluckiest victim was General Garza. Despite having tank stats, he finally logged out under the force of this assassin door. One by one, the Demon King's top brass got wiped. The goddess was confused why the boss didn't just unhinge this cursed door. Pepito revealed it was all thanks to the left door, another sentient object. These two doors hated each other. The left one was a loyalist, while Pepito was, well, Pepito. Their constant bickering made the Demon King think he was hearing voices and going insane. Having lost his best generals, the Demon King's army got clapped by the humans. When the hero entered for the 1v1, the Demon King, who had infinite health regen, was giving the hero a top-tier beating. To make it worse, the left door tried to backstab with a laser beam. In that clutch moment, Pepito used his only move, opening and closing, to redirect the laser straight into the Demon King's face. The boss exploded along with the left door. But just as the hero started celebrating with his harem, tragedy struck again. One of the girls in the harem was a cat girl. Triggered by his allergies, Pepito let out a world-shaking sneeze that crushed the hero and his entire squad to death. The remaining troops went berserk and smashed the door to pieces, causing Pepito to lose his physical form and vanish. As the story ended, so did the curry fried rice. Philomena noticed the table looked weird and asked where it came from. Pepito casually said he brought the remains of the left door back as a souvenir and turned it into furniture. After one bite, the goddess was totally hooked on his cooking. Seeing his crush was satisfied, he tried to secure a lifetime contract as her chef, but Philomena coldly shut him down. "One meal a week, kid. Don't push it." A moment later, the gods took the stage to explain that in the beginning, the universe was just a massive dumpster fire of chaos. From that mess, the sole creator forged the original world, and then the minor gods were born to mold this no two are alike multiverse. The catch is, to upgrade to a higher dimension, these gods have to evolve their worlds by sending reincarnated souls through the cycle, and the deviants are the most important catalysts. The problem, Pepito is a god-tier deviant who distorts the entire evolution roadmap every time he breathes. Even worse, the clueless goddess Philomena is the one managing him. The other gods are too scared to make a move, so they just lurk in the shadows, monitoring him while simping over his canned salmon, a snack they claim tastes better than divine nectar or high-end godly liquor. Back to Pepito, who was busy flirting with Philomena. As a result, she slapped a 10x gravity debuff on him as punishment. Pepito, being a stubborn simp, said she could crank it up as much as she wanted, as long as he could sit near her. Philomena obliged and boosted it to 100x, flattening our guy like a pancake. After being revived, Pepito saw a tea leaf standing upright in his cup, a classic sign that a lucky day was coming. But Philomena immediately killed the vibe, reminding him he was brought back to be a corporate slave, not to enjoy life. She warned him that if he didn't want to lose his 5 senses and turn into a rock, he better get to work. Pepito hurried to shake the vibe checkbox and pulled a rough shift, working as the second hand of a giant clock tower. While still in the waiting room, Pepito started grinding, typing a bunch of broken skills into his tablet. When the goddess asked what on earth he was doing, he calmly replied he was installing a new skill. The skill. Every time the clock strikes 12, it triggers a Ragnarok event that logs out the entire world. Obviously, Philomena was never going to approve that insanity and yeeted him straight into reincarnation. After some time, Philomena checked the time and realized it was late, so she summoned Pepito back. She declared that since he now had clock experience, his next life would be a sundial in the middle of a desert, pure torture. She quickly pulled up the screen to watch Pepito's mission report. It turns out he was the second hand of the largest clock in the kingdom, located right at the hero's base. Salty from seeing couples constantly flirting at his feet, Pepito formed a squad with the minute and hour hands who were also reincarnated souls. One was made of precious jewels, the other from the world tree's wood, and Pepito was forged from dark matter. Every time the hour hand hit a number, Pepito, jealous of anyone with a social life, launched random magic attacks at the crowd below. Surprisingly, the people thought it was a fireworks display and loved it, turning the spot into a top-tier date location. That is, until he accidentally blasted a laser right at the king during a parade. The king went full Karen mode and ordered the immediate destruction of this cursed clock. The citizens protested fiercely because the place was a landmark for lovers. The king insisted on trashing it, but luckily, the hero stepped in to intervene. However, the king ordered the hero to investigate why this clock was spamming magic and to fix it. With his room temperature IQ, the hero decided to dismantle the hour hand. Hearing this, Philomena just shook her head at the hero's lack of brain cells. The hero concluded that the magic only triggered on the even hours, so the hour hand must be the culprit. Thanks to that mistake, Pepito got to retire and chill for a while. But his burning jealousy toward happy couples flared up again. He started sniping random targets with lasers, and once again, he hit the king. This time, nobody could save him. The official order to scrap the clock was issued. The citizens went into full protest mode, and even the Demon King took their side to protect the landmark. Since it was the Demon King's request, the king had to back down, but he still demanded a full investigation into the clock's self-firing magic. Following his niece's advice, the Demon King decided to remove the minute hand. Since Pepito was made of dark matter, he remained completely invisible to them. But only a week passed before Pepito's hand got itchy again, and he fired a literal hellfire blast at the king. This time, the king was absolutely livid and tried to personally log out the clock, but the citizens blocked him, including a guy named Tanaka. Philomena asked who Tanaka was, and Pepito casually said he was just a random NPC who kept getting hit by his spells. Turns out, Tanaka was a hardcore masochist who actually enjoyed getting clapped by the Clocktower's attacks. Because Tanaka begged for mercy, the king let it slide. Turns out this guy isn't just some random NPC. Philomena was getting bored of the repetitive plot, but Pepito revealed that Tanaka actually felt his presence and knew he was a reincarnated soul. In the middle of all that, the Demon King's army attacked. Pepito decided to launch a healing meteor shower at the enemies. It's called healing because the meteors were shaped like kittens. This move wiped the Demon King's forces, but also conveniently sent the hero and Tanaka to the lobby for an early retirement. World peace was achieved, Tanaka reincarnated elsewhere, and Pepito logged out along with the destroyed clock. Returning this time, he brought the remains of the minute hand as a souvenir. At dinner, Pepito tried to feed the goddess, but she immediately blinked him into nothingness. After a quick revive, our guy tried to eat, but his chopsticks were destroyed. Philomena reluctantly let him borrow hers. The ultimate opportunist, Pepito snatched them up and ate using the exact end the goddess touched, claiming he just preferred it that way. After dinner, he shook the box and pulled his next gig, becoming the system voice in a hero's head, announcing level ups. Philomena had a bad feeling about this. While Pepito prayed to land inside a female hero's brain, the goddess shut that down instantly, hard-coding the host to be male just in case he had any sus intentions. And so, Pepito set off to be the system for a hero. A while later, he came back looking depressed, whining that the hero ruined his life and his plan to be a chaotic nuisance had failed. Philomena plugged in the cables to check the receipts. Pepito started his mission when the hero, Mish, was level 1 at age 10. From the very first level up notification, the hero complained that Pepito's voice was grating. Feeling petty, Pepito blasted death metal in the guy's head for 5 straight years. Consequently, the hero didn't level up once during that time because he was too stressed to function. Eventually, the hero had to accept this weird voice to go on an adventure. Facing his first slime, the hero missed every single swing because Pepito kept screaming, "You missed, sweetie." It got so bad that the official system voice had to step in and warn Pepito for overstepping his boundaries. Banned from speaking, he switched to high-energy beatboxing inside the host's skull. Other system commands also told him to pipe down, leading to full-blown arguments inside the poor hero's brain. By level 10, the official system voice actually got folded. Turns out, every 10 levels the hero gains, one voice in his head gets purged. Realizing this loophole, Mish started grinding levels like a madman to delete the annoying voices. At level 20, he took out the delivery guy voice. At level 30 and 40, the ice cream man and the plumber in his head also logged out. Unfortunately, Pepito was still alive and kicking, thanking his lucky stars for his plot armor. The only way these background noises could resist was to scream in unison, turning the hero's brain into a literal war zone. Since Pepito had the talking skill, the other voices could hear him too. This stubborn guy even wondered why the hero hated him so much. Finally, the hero found a way to invade his own mind to personally finish them all off. However, when he faced Pepito, it was the hero who got clapped. Philomena wondered how a level 50 hero lost, and Pepito explained that since they all shared the same space, the XP was split and he was actually level 80. It seems our guy had been leeching all the host's XP the whole time. Out of desperation, the hero teamed up with the Demon King, inviting him into his own brain to gang up on Pepito. The result? He beat the Demon King to a pulp too. Then, Pepito decided to host a full-blown concert inside the host's head for the whole world to hear. Finally, the hero found the ultimate solution, the brain-off switch. Once flipped, Pepito was officially disabled. Since the hero never turned that switch back on, Pepito's life came to an end. The only gift he brought back this time was a gift card. Philomena didn't want it at first, but remembering she broke Pepito's chopsticks, she planned to buy him a new pair. Pepito was over the moon, demanding a pair exactly like hers. In the end, the goddess just gave him the chopsticks she was currently using.